every qualifier scores a $50 gift card to Mellow Mushroom at 1604 and Stone Oak Parkway. Cold drinks, hot pizza, and ACL wristbands. That's a Texas-sized jackpot. Want to lock in your tickets now? Head to aclfest.com. All this week, it's ACL giveaways. Only on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star. San Antonio's Sports Star. San Antonio's Sports Center.
NBA playoffs. The Pacers eliminated the Cavs last night, while the Thunder pushed the Nuggets to a Game 6, putting them on the brink of elimination, going up 3-2 in that series tonight. You got the Knicks looking to close out the Celtics. Jason Tatum out with a torn Achilles that he underwent surgery for yesterday. Tip-off set for 6. That's followed by Timberwolves Warriors. T-Wolves also looking to close out that series.
This is Extra Innings with Pleasure.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Rock and roll! The Texans win it!
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
That ball is history! A walk-off home run!
And it's going to be legendary.
James Pledger wraps your day with insight, opinion, plenty of sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge. What's up,
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. Thanks for listening, however you may be listening, whether that's on 94.1 on your FM dial, if you happen to be locked in at sasportstar.com, listening via our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player, or if you're watching our show live on YouTube. That is right. We stream all of our shows live via the YouTube app. Just go search SA Sports Star, like, subscribe. You can comment along with the show. I love to interact with y'all on YouTube or in person. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. Lots and lots and lots to get into with all of that, because I'm telling you, man, NFL schedule releases tonight. Get to find out where, when, how many primetime games, when's the bye week, which I think is probably one of the more important things when it comes to the NFL schedule. How your home and road stack up. I cannot stress enough how much I love the NFL schedule release and just kind of figuring out, planning trips, circling where I want to go. We already know Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving at home, taking on the Chiefs. That's a game actually I've got circled to go with to my Chiefs fans, friends, and making a trip to Dallas. Never been to Jerry World outside of the draft. Never been to an actual football game there. Maybe see if I can catch the sun blinding me like it does CeeDee Lamb and those receivers on a nice winter afternoon. We also know they're both them and the Lions, both of the Thanksgiving Day staples, also playing on Christmas this year. We know that the Lions have a game against the Vikings, and the Cowboys will be heading to Washington to take on the Commanders. That's big news. Plus, let's not forget that, the Chiefs also playing on Christmas Day. They'll be taking on the Denver Broncos. Just so much with the NFL schedule release. Early reports have the Texans opening up the season in LA against the Rams. That's going to be a rough one, because if you watched them last year and the way that team played, whether it was Braden Fisk, whether Jared Verse, they managed to get after pass rushers. So that new offensive line in Houston going to be put to the test early. And I can't wait to see what's going on. Chris Orozco asking, Ace Bailey or Harper, who are you taking, Pledge? Look, should be obvious. At least to me, it's obvious. I've stated it multiple times right here on this program, especially in the NBA draft. You never draft for need, especially when you were picking at the top. You take the best player and you figure it out. I don't care if you've got 15 point guards. If the best player, a generational type talent, is available, you take him. You do what Indiana did. You have Miles Teller, you take Sabonis anyway. Guess what? They traded Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton, which worked out really well for Indiana. Same thing, they already had De'Aaron Fox. They drafted a Halliburton, or it was the other way around. I forget which way Sacramento did it. They needed a big. They traded him for Sabonis. It will work itself out. You get a good player. You see what Mikal Bridges is going for. 5 first-round picks, Rudy Gobert. You see the players that teams are willing to offer up assets for. Even if you have too many of them, even if it doesn't work, you can get better assets if you take the best player. And that's what you have to do. And it's going to be very interesting because, right now it looks like it's heavily leaning towards taking Harper with the number 2 overall pick, as Jonathan Givony, the NBA draft expert, said earlier today on NBA Today.
Dylan Harper is going to be the number 2 pick in the draft. I am 99.9% sure about it. He looked also really, really good, tested very well, shot it well. His body is in a great place. He's lost 15 pounds in the last years. He's also grown. He has measurements comparable to those of Dwayne Wade coming out of college. The San Antonio Spurs are signaling to teams that they are very excited about the opportunity to draft Dylan Harper. They are not pursuing trades from what we're hearing. They think that they can play Dylan Harper together with Steph Castle and De'Aaron Fox in the same backcourt. Obviously, teams have some question marks about the amount of shooting on that roster. That's something that they are probably going to address at a later stage. Dylan Harper is the second best prospect in this draft. He will go second, I believe.
There it is. You take Harper and you figure it out. You've got other assets. You heard Givony right there. They've got other assets. They can go find more shooting. You take the best player and you figure it out from there. And sometimes you take him and maybe he's not the long-term answer for this team, but he's a means to figuring out the rest of the roster surrounding the team once it's all said and done. Or maybe it's Castle, or maybe it's Fox. Who knows? But you take the best player and you figure it out after that. And you find out which person fits, which doesn't, what's the best of what you have, and what you want to build around. And that's what you keep in the building, and you figure out how to make the other parts either work in conjunction with it or work in terms of reshaping your roster by getting them out and finding them another home. And to me, to my core, especially in the NBA, that is the route you have to take, because look at the players that drafted for position over need, or for need over best available. Do you think it worked out because they have Brandon Roy and all these other players and they needed a big, that Portland took Greg Oden over Kevin Durant? Did that work out for them? When you look at the Golden State Warriors and they take Wiseman at number 2 because they think an athletic big is the missing piece because they've already got shooters with Steph and Clay. Did that work out? Or should they have just taken LaMelo Ball? Like, the best, when you take for a position of need, especially that high in the draft over the best player available, it rarely works out for you. And to me, there's a litany, like the Blazers, once again, I'll go back to the Blazers. They had Clyde Drexler, so they took Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. Did that work out for them? No. You take the best player. You figure it out. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star 941 FM, sasportstar.com. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of those rumors, because if you stick and pick it too, cool. You got Dylan Harper, and it seems like that may be the way they're leaning. but there's also been mentions of their potential to be involved in trades. And you can't overlook the potential that they are involved in those trades when they hold a card as valuable as the number 2 overall pick in this draft. So what does that mean for Giannis and the rumors or Lauri Markkanen? Morning Huddle was talking about earlier. We'll get into that. Coming up next here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-499-9102. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-499-9102. That's 800-499-9102. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
94.1 San Antonio Sports Star is gearing up to send you to the Austin City Limits Music Festival. 9 stages, 2 weekends, and more big-time artists than a Texas tailgate. October 3rd through the 5th, and again October 10th through the 12th in the live music capital of the world. We're talking Sabrina Carpenter, Hozier, Doja Cat, Luke Combs, The Strokes, John Summit, Doechii, Faith, and a whole mix of other stars lighting up Zilker Park. Listen to the Morning Huddle and the Blitz this week for your chance to win a pair of 3-day wristbands to Weekend 2. We're picking one winner on each show this Friday, and every qualifier scores a $50 gift card to Mellow Mushroom at 1604 and Stone Oak Parkway. Cold drinks, hot pizza, and ACL wristbands. That's a Texas-sized jackpot. Want to lock in your tickets now? Head to aclfest.com. All this week, it's ACL giveaways. Only on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star. It's Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pleasure. I appreciate y'all riding along with me tonight. I'm taking you all the way up to the top of the hour as we get you ready for the NFL schedule release, which we will bring to you right here on San Antonio Sports Star, your home for the NFL. David Macias says we need to stop planning for the future as far as draft position. The future is upon us. Agreed and disagreed. Multiple things can be true. When the Kings took Marvin Bagley over Luka, that's a great one, DeHeo. Yeah. Wow. Who went 1 in that draft? Also not a great pick either. Because Luka should have been the number 1 overall pick that year. But we'll see as it turns out, best player always wins. And I say multiple things can be true because, yes, you do need to start thinking about the future being upon you, this being your jumping off point. But at the same time, especially as an organization, as a sports team, as a franchise, as a general manager, you always have to be planning for the future. This whole all in, this year's the only thing that matters, that's rumor. That's nothing. That's how you get fired. Because sure, you can win a Super Bowl. And if you mortgage everything to win that one Super Bowl and you find yourself in a lull of 3 to 4 years of suctitude, nobody's job is safe. Not the coach, not the GM. And who knows, the superstar may hate losing because you've traded away all few. I'll use this as an example right now. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks. They were in an awful situation. They mortgaged everything to continue to win. They paid Chris Middleton the max, despite some ankle issues that now have him not playing basketball anymore. You traded a bunch of ones to the New Orleans Pelicans to get Drew Holiday, who is now in Boston, by the way, as you let him go because you couldn't pay him. And then you traded everything that you had left to go get Dame Lillard, who is now also injured and older. And now you've got a 31-year-old Giannis Antetokounmpo who is looking around like Will Smith at the end of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at an empty room going, do I want to be here anymore? And that's the chance you take when you forego keeping the future in mind. So you have to keep an eye on the future at all times if you're a sports organization or if you're a GM worth your salt. So do they need to do some things for now? Absolutely. Do they need to mortgage everything that they have for the future to do it? Absolutely not. That's not how this works. You have to think about now and the future at the same time. And you can't put too much emphasis on one, or it could really mess up the other. And the other could be a lot longer lived than the short-lived now. And I think every Spurs fan enjoyed them looking at the future, consistently drafting, trading a George Hill for a Kawhi Leonard to continue to keep that window open. Like they made moves for the future, but also for the present to keep Tim healthy, to keep Manu and Tony going. That's how you create a dynasty. That's how you're successful for 20 years. Do I expect them to recreate that? The Spurs and the Patriots, the only two teams that have created anything over a 1 decade long dynastic run. That's it. That's the list. Oh, and I guess you could throw the 8-team NBA Celtics in there with Bill Russell. Like, cool. Everybody else is playing for 1 year. Everybody else is playing for those little pockets to steal a championship. Do you want to steal championships, or do you want to build a roster that's going to compete in a potential dynastic way, the same way the Spurs had been built previously? Because if you go get Giannis at 31 years old, best 5 years, 6 years at best, right? But you're going to max him out here in 2 years, and that max is likely going to be for 5 years. So then you're stuck with a contract that's unmovable by the end of it. A lot like Bradley Beal's looking like right now. Because especially for a guy at that size that uses that much athleticism, that has no real outside shot, like once the athleticism goes, What are you going to do? What can he do as a basketball player? And you have to think about these things before committing to potentially going all in on something in such an obvious way. So, I mean, I heard earlier today, the ESPN combine coverage, one of the analysts was talking to a Spurs exec, and the fact that this is where the Spurs executives feel like they're at in conversations off the microphone. I think Spurs fans should be happy for what the future is and potentially could be.
I think that's the flexibility that they have. I mean, and talking to some of their executives while I was down there on the floor off mic, they're saying, we're back. Like, they feel like they're back right now. And the reason why they feel they're back is exactly what you guys were just talking about. There's multiple pathways for the San Antonio Spurs. Do they continue to build through the draft? Because obviously with Castle and Wembanyama the last 2 years, they've been outstanding. So can they get another piece in this year's draft and say, hey, we're going to play a little bit longer game, but still have that capital moving forward that we can be flexible with? Or if things open up and you have a Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant and you feel like you can go get them, this is a team that, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, salary cap-wise, really healthy, draft capital-wise, really strong, that can go out and make a strong push. And all of a sudden now, if you took Wemby, Fox, and Castle, would you all assume those three guys are untouchable? And you add in Giannis, come on, pretty good.
Now, notice what he said there when he transitioned from the number 2 pick to talking about trades. He didn't say that they were going to push for it if something came to them, which tells me they're going to be patient and wait for the price point that they think is appropriate for them to move on in a buyer's market. They're not going to overpay for anything. They're not going to give up a bunch of picks, pick swaps, and players. They want to keep a lot of this core together. It sounds like they want to keep the core of Castle, Fox, and Wemby together for as long as they can. And maybe they found a 6-man, a Manu-type role in Keldon Johnson coming off the bench. Personally, my own personal opinion, and I know a lot of people think I hate Devin Vassell. I don't hate Devin Vassell. I hate where he's being casted. If he could go to the bench like Kelvin and just be instant offense, you're the dude on the second unit. I think that's his best role, at least on this team. Because when is Devin playing at his best? After Fox got hurt, after Wemby got hurt, and he's the only guy left in the starting lineup. Well, move that to the second unit to when he can be the guy with the green light. Go be our bucket getter. I think that's a good fit for him if he's a part of this team moving forward. I don't like his fit so much with the starters. I'd like to see Fox and Castle and Wemby playing together. I like Harrison Barnes' fit with that starting lineup. What do you do at the 5? Or the 3, depending where you're playing Wemby? That's the questions that we have to answer this offseason. Those are the holes that they have to fill. That and outside shooting. Knockdown, high percentage outside shooting. I don't care if it's Luke Kennard or if it's Cam Johnson, but you go find yourself Franz Wagner, like whatever it may be, find you guys that can shoot at a high clip from behind the arc to help open things up for Wemby and other players, because Wemby is a great distributor of the basketball. And it sounds like Harper will be a part of this moving forward. And I like Dylan Harper. NBA pedigree, lineage. Could he basically, Ron Harper was a good NBA player, just like Del Curry was a good NBA player. like Steph Curry? Could he take the family name to the next level? His game suggests he's got that type of potential. We'll talk more about it coming up here on Extra Innings with Pleasure. 941 San Antonio Sports Star, sasportstar.com. What do you want to do? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Do you want to keep the second pick, move the second pick, see if you can make a trade that doesn't involve the second pick? Who are you moving? What are you moving it for? How are you bettering this team, this Spurs team, to build around what they've started to build around? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Your calls plus more coming up here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed cracks in your drywall, chimney, or exterior walls? I hope not, because if you have, they could be indications that you've got a much bigger problem with your foundation. That's where Groundworks comes in. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to stabilize your foundation. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row.
Groundworks is the official foundation repair company of Texas Athletics. Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
For a lot of us, saving up a down payment can be the biggest barrier to buying a home. So Rocket Mortgage is lowering down payments to 1% for eligible home buyers with ONE+. Because everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to get a head start on your starter home.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers, not available in all states.
Keep your ride summer road trip ready with parts, tools, and accessories from Summit Racing. We have what you need for pre-trip maintenance, plus essentials like emergency roadside kits, tire inflators, jumper cables, boost jump starters, tool sets, and a whole lot more. So hit the highways or take the roads less traveled with confidence. Shop summitracing.com. Use promo code RADIO for $10 off an order of $100 or more. Exclusions apply. Offer ends May 25th, 2025. SummitRacing.com. Let's build it together.
This is Andrew Monaco, and you're listening to the home of the Aggies, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Appreciate y'all for riding along with me tonight. Remember, coming up at the top of the hour, we got the NFL schedule release coming up 7 o'clock on the dot. So stay locked in for that. Earlier today, Joe Reinagle and myself were talking about different potential trades that the Spurs could find themselves in if that's the direction they decide to go. What say you? 210-656-3776, 656 ESPN. If you want to be a part of the conversation, here's what Joe had to say about some of the potential rumored trades that the Spurs have been mentioning to this point.
Kendrick Perkins has a tweet out here, and I got to find it again, and I will, where he's talking about the Spurs. And he says, his tweet says, if the Spurs decide to keep their pick, the number 2 pick, he says Trey Johnson is their guy at number 2. He says he would fit well alongside Wemby and Castle. Trey reminds me a lot of Chris Middleton, according to Kendrick Perkins. So that's interesting. And I know Trey Perkins is certainly in the top 5 of picks, potential picks. So Kendrick Perkins thinks the Spurs, if they keep the number 2 pick, should go with Trey Johnson. So that just kind of throws us into the Spurs offseason and the possibilities and what they may or may not do. If they do pick that, if they do keep their number 2 pick, obviously they're going to get a good player. There's no question about that. So they'll get a good player, but will that player be able to come in and help right away? That's always the question when you draft somebody. Some guys do, some guys don't. Now, as we mentioned when we went to the break, Pledge put out there was a trade proposal, and I'm do you remember the website, Pledge? Was it Clutch Points?
It was The Score.
The Score. And it was unbelievable. A trade, a mock, if you will, trade for Giannis to come to San Antonio. And the Spurs were giving up everybody, including just about every one of their picks. You remember the details of that, Pledge? Do you have it handy?
I do. I have it handy right here, actually. And I've got the Instagram poll results as well.
Okay.
Of where we currently sit.
Let's hear it.
The Spurs would get Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis.
Okay.
The Spurs would be sending out in return Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, the number 2 overall pick, their 2026 pick swap, the 2027 Atlanta first round pick, the 2028 Boston first round pick, a 28 pick swap, and a 29 pick swap.
Okay, so a lot.
It's a lot. But remember, Mikal Bridges went for 5 first round picks last offseason.
And you wouldn't expect Milwaukee to ask for anything less than that for a guy that's a future Hall of Famer, 2-time MVP, and a great player. And he's still got a lot left in the tank, a couple of years left on his contract. So I get it. But the results to me were about 70-30 against that, at least on Twitter.
75-25 on Instagram.
Against.
Everybody
saying that they thought it was too high, too much to give away. And it is a lot. I'm telling you, it is a lot. Now, some of the reasoning I don't get, like Richie Rich on Twitter says the Spurs can be patient. Richie, I could not disagree with you more.
You don't skip steps, Joe.
I could not disagree with you more. They're not fine with a slower approach. And you know, I always want somebody to explain that to me. What is a slower approach? How many years does that take? It's been 7 years since the Spurs have been in the playoffs. I'm just curious. I'm not even talking about championships. It's been longer than that, obviously, but just the playoffs. 7 years. And I don't know how much more patient the Spurs should be. Should they be patient with what? With Devin Vassell, who still has that, going into his 5th year, who still has not become that consistent shooter that they wanted. Keldon Johnson may have had one of his best years as a Spur coming off the bench. So maybe you could say that. Jeremy Sohan, I'm still waiting. And what is he going into his 3rd year? 3rd or 4th? I'm still waiting. So I'm not sure. And I wish somebody would explain to me what being patient means, because I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Now, look, having a Giannis here for that cost, I'm coming around to I just don't know if that would be worth it. And I say that, obviously, it would get a lot, folks are excited as hell here. There's no doubt about that. But it would come at a high cost, not only in draft capital and players, but then you've got to replace those players, and you got to have some capital, something to do to build around that, because you're still going to need some the holes that are going to have to be filled.
Same holes.
It's true, except for perhaps a big man, which you could get away with Giannis. So that might solve that problem. But I just don't understand some Spurs fans. I don't, where, trust the process and Pop we trust and all of that's fine. But I mean, I don't know how much longer we need to be patient here. To me, I think everybody's been pretty damn patient. And have waited, and we're in the lottery again, and we're this again, and we're not making the playoffs again. And it's baffling. To me, we're in professional sports. It's not a high school program. I mean, this is a professional sports program that the object is to win, not to just, okay, well, we won 32 games this year. That's 10 better than last year. Yay! No, that's not the object. It's not. It's time to get a move on. So, look, if the Giannis deal is too expensive, fine. No problem. The Spurs are never going to be in a better position than they are today with draft capital, with stuff that they have to be able to trade and make some moves. So if you don't like the Giannis deal, let me give you another one, all right? And I thought this was pretty good. Now, if you all remember the talk, was it last offseason or the start of the season, the Lauri Markkanen.
I forget. I've been trying to manifest this for like 4 or 5 years now.
Exactly. So the Lauri Markkanen trade, there's a mock for that out as well. And let me ask you this. We'll lay this out, and maybe, Pledge, you can put this on the socials as well. Lauri Markkanen, big guy, good player, just got a contract extension, so you'd have him for the next 4 years under contract. Spurs would receive Lauri Markkanen and Utah's 5th overall pick in this year's draft. So you're not only getting Markkanen, but you're getting the number 5 pick in the draft, which there are still a lot of good players. In return, the Jazz would receive Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, Blake Wesley, the Spurs' 2nd pick and their 14th pick of this year's draft.
But you get 5.
You get 5 back. So you not only get Markkanen, but you get 5 back, and you're giving up Johnson, Harrison Barnes, and Blake Wesley, which means you're keeping Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sohan.
And you're keeping all your future assets.
And you're keeping your future assets, which you still have. Now, look, this is a mock. This is not coming from the Utah Jazz. So they may have something to say about this. But in this scenario, just like the other scenario for Giannis, would you make this deal? Would you make that deal? I'm curious if you would. You're more than welcome to call and let me know. 656-3776, 656-ESPN. If you're on our YouTube page, we appreciate everybody there. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube page and hit the thumbs up button. And you can get me on Twitter as well, at Joe Reinagle 210. Let me know what you think.
And I want to point out, because a lot of people are saying that's too much for them, possibly in terms of the players you're sending back. You have to match salaries.
Yes.
And Lauri Markkanen's commanding about 40 to 45 million. You got to get to, I believe, within 85% of a player's salary to match in what you send in return. So there aren't many players on this roster outside of Keldon, Devin, and Harrison that can equate to that big of a salary that quickly. And it goes the same if you're hoping for Giannis Antetokounmpo too. Like, no matter who you're getting with a big salary, you have to match a good portion of that salary in return. And that's just part of it.
Yeah, it is. You're going to have to give up some players. You're not going to be able to get away with just draft picks. You're going to have to match the salary. So, and Markkanen, at this moment in time, he just signed a new deal with the Utah Jazz. He can be traded now. That is done. I mean, it's the period of time where he couldn't be traded is over. So he can be traded. 25-26, he's going to be making $46 million in change. He's going to be making the same amount in 26-27. So you know what you got to work with the first 2 years. His salary bumps in the third year to just about $50 million. And then the final year of that contract is $53 million. Now, keep in mind, not only that, the Spurs have a De'Aaron Fox they've got to sign this offseason, which I have every belief that they're going to do that. So he's due for a new contract. So you got to do that, and then you got to figure out what else you're going to do. If you're keeping Jeremy Sohan, he's going to be due for a new contract coming up pretty soon. So there are a lot of things to think about, but if you're looking for a big man, and everybody was in on Lauri Markkanen to begin with, or certainly was at the beginning of the season when he was apparently on the trade block, that solves your big man problem, and the guy can shoot as well. So I think obviously you're not going to count. He doesn't solve that problem completely, but he can do a multiple amount of things. And so I just want to say, to me, with if those two things happened, and again, we're spaghetti on the wall is a good description of it because I had somebody say that, David, on our YouTube page. I get it. It is, but we're playing GM here. But in that scenario, if you had the choice, Spurs fan, of the Giannis proposal we put out yesterday and this Lauri Markkanen mock proposal, which one would you take? Which one would you take? We got Mark Hernandez asking about Chris Paul. Chris Paul was a 1-year deal. I don't believe they'll sign him back because I don't think Chris Paul wants to come off the bench. And at this point in time, anything other than that, I think is malpractice. When you got De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle, they got to be in the starting lineup. So I'm not sure Chris Paul would come back as a player. Yeah, man, if he wants to take his uniform off and put on some street clothes and be an assistant coach, I'm all in for that. I just find this very fascinating that this Lauri Markkanen thing could be a possibility. And we're gonna hear a lot of these mocks. And I only throw them out there for conversation because I think Spurs fans, and you guys please tell me if I'm wrong. I think a lot of you are like me. A lot of you are like Pledge, and I think I'll even throw Minix in this thing because I think he's ready too. I'm done with lotteries, man. I'm done with them. I don't want to be in the lottery next year. I'm tired of skipping steps or not skipping steps. I'm tired of being patient. I don't want to be in the lottery next year. I want to be talking about the Spurs playing somebody in the playoffs. Now, how far they go or what they do is another story, but to get to the playoffs and allow Victor Wembanyama to have that playoff experience and Steph Castle to have that playoff experience is going to be invaluable. And so I'm sick of the lottery. I want the Spurs to make some moves, and I want them to improve this team where we come out of the gates this season and the Spurs are mentioned as a contender.
I would like to cordially welcome you aboard the Lauri Markkanen train to San Antonio. I did some quick calculations. Bobby Marks put together how much De'Aaron Fox's future contract that he would now have to get. It takes a bit of a dip. It was, I believe, 4,229 or 5,345, but because he's traded and signing with another team, he gets a 4-year, $219 million extension is what he's looking at, which, if you're wondering, $54.75 million a year.
Okay.
So that's how that affects the cap moving forward.
Well, and that doesn't necessarily surprise me. So you got to keep that in mind too when you're moving players, right? Not only do you have to squeeze a guy like Markkanen in, you got to think about De'Aaron Fox as well.
And at 5, you could still get a pretty good player to
might get a Trey Johnson, who Kendrick Perkins is talking about.
Sure.
Or you could take the advice of the Dukies and take their guy. What's his name? Knippel?
Con Knippel.
Con Knippel. He is, I don't know if any of you watch, I know most of you watch the Final Four. This dude can flat out shoot. This guy can flat out shoot. Well, Duke sends out it was a tweet or on one of the socials, and it was directed right at the Spurs. And it said, hey, San Antonio, with that number 2 pick, you ought to take Knippel. And I tell you what, I don't think at number 2 you take this guy, but at number 5, if that worked out, I might be taking this guy.
What about Kaman Malak?
Or him too,
the
but it's
7'2" big man.
Another big man. Our good buddy Rob Thompson loves that guy. He was telling me about that guy when Duke was here and we were watching the game. He
I
said,
like both of them.
He said, watch for this guy. He's going to be a hell of a player. Kind of a raw player, though. It might take him a minute to get involved, but the guy's 7'2", for goodness sake, and he's huge. So that wouldn't be too bad either. So a lot of possibilities, and thanks for bearing with us. But I want to know y'all's impression too, and what you think of it. I see a lot of comments on our YouTube page talking about, yeah, if that was the deal for Lauri Markkanen, let's go, let's make that deal happen.
And remember too, with this deal that you're proposing, you save these future assets you have.
Absolutely.
If you want to go get a Cam Johnson or fill holes other ways through other trades, you haven't emptied your war chest.
Absolutely. So fun times. And it's great to be able to talk about this because, look, I wanted the Spurs to do something last year. They chose not to and save it for the magical year of 2025. And here we are in the magical year of 2025. Spurs are never going to be in a better position than they are right now. I just can't see it. With all the draft assets, draft capital that they have, they've got a little bit of money, depending on what they do and who they let go. It's just time. It's time to get this done.
It is time to get it done, but it's also 4D chess. So you have to also keep at least an eye and a pulse on the future to continue to build out. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. I love Con Knuppel. I think he's a great player. I'm not taking him at 2. I'm not passing on Dylan Harper if given the opportunity to draft Dylan Harper. Like that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm picking. If I can move up from 14, cool. If I can't, at 14, that's where you potentially, after drafting your star, that's where you may look at, okay, this is a fit. This is a position of need. But even then, man, take the best player. Because if it works, it works. And you've got trade chips. I really, really like Walter Clayton Jr. 14 feels early for him, but you talk about a guy that adds floor spacing. My goodness. Dude's a microwave. What do you think the Spurs should do? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. That plus NFL schedule coming out. What are you looking forward to most? Are you planning trips? Are you looking for that bye week? Are you looking for a cluster of home versus road games? How long road trips are? What are your things that you look for when the NFL schedule actually comes out? Because, man, I love to start planning trips. That's something I really look forward to. We'll take your calls and comments next, right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
For 120 years, Ford has been committed to doing the right thing for America, and we're not going anywhere. That's why Ford assembles more vehicles in the U.S. than any other automaker and employs the most hourly auto workers in the country. That's not a boast, it's a pledge to the Americans who drive our vehicles and the capable people who build them, because our values can't be offshored. We do it for the people who make America: workers, farmers, first responders, communities. As long as America depends on them, they can depend on us. Ford Motor Company. From America, for America.
Based on S&P Global Mobility Calendar Year 2024 U.S. light vehicle production data. Assembled in the USA with domestic and foreign parts. Based on 2024 year-end hourly employment data.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-743-8080. That's 1-800-743-8080. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-743-8080. That's 1-800-743-8080.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Do you disregard people's personal space? Sitting next to people in public, even if there are tons of open seats? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. There's still time. Come to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale and get a queen mattress and adjustable base for just $399.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
There are low prices, and then there are Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I got myself a comfy tee for just $4.99 and a stylish dress for 50% off. Then I found my husband a pair of shorts for under $17. Plus, I earned Kohl's cash. Yup, it doesn't get better than Kohl's lowest prices of the season. So go check them out before it's too late. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offers end May 18th. See store or Kohls.com for details.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-499-9102. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-499-9102. That's 800-499-9102. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I'm James Pledger. Appreciate y'all rolling along with me tonight on this schedule release Wednesday night. Coming up next right here on San Antonio Sports Star in a little less than 10 minutes, we've got the NFL schedule release special right here, brought to you by Westwood One, as they will unveil everything for us. We know some of the things. We know some of the details. We know the Cowboys will open up the season on a Thursday night in Philly against the defending world champion Philadelphia Eagles. And my pleading and begging to the NFL for that game during the opening ceremonies, just give me a Jerry cam. I need a Jerry cam. I need to see all his reactions to Philadelphia hanging a world title banner against them on the opener. I just want to know what he's feeling that day. Please, please, please. And I believe that game, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be broadcast on NBC. So please, NBC, give me a Jerry cam. That's all I'm asking for. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. We also know that they are the king of the holidays. We already knew that they were going to be playing on Thanksgiving. Now we know who they're playing. Probably going to be one of the most watched games, breaking numerous records along the way in the NFL when they take on the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day at Jerry World. And we also know that they are now going to invade the Christmas Day holiday. So all Cowboy fans, make sure that your holidays are open, because guess what? You're playing on Christmas. You're going to take on the Commanders in DC. Commanders getting a ton of reported games that are going to be in prime time. 8, I believe, is what I saw by one report. And another report I just saw come out. We've known the NFL slate. It was just confirmed. The Chiefs opening up the season the day after the Cowboys in Brazil against the division rival Chargers on that Friday in week 1 of the season. I did see a report where the Cowboys bye week may be falling in week 10. It's a pretty good bye week if you're falling in week 10. So that would be a good one. So I like middle of the year bye weeks to just kind of perfectly kind of break the schedule up. I think the Texans came super late, and that hurt them in a lot of senses in terms of fixing the problems that ailed them all season long and just dealing with injuries that they had to deal with, especially in the wide receiver room. Texans are going to reportedly open up the season in LA against the Rams. So that offensive line, that new look offense from Nick Caley and their revamped offensive line, they're going to be put to the test early against Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. Like that, they're going to have their hands full. We're going to see very quickly how well the moves that Caserio and Caley and D'Amico Ryans are paying off, because Jared Verse was a monster last year, and I only expect him to be better in year 2. He's been a nightmare for teams, especially down the stretch, as it clicked for him last year. He was the defensive rookie of the year. So can that work? I also like that Texans defense is going, that secondary especially. You're talking about Kalen Bullock and CJ Gardner-Johnson or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You've got Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley, Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie. They've got so much in that secondary. And then you've got Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter pushing the pocket that is going to make quarterbacks either force them into mistakes against a very active secondary, or it is going to make them hold the ball longer than they should, which will allow that pass rush to get home. So the Texans, a lot of things to look forward to, especially with the Cowboys too. I mean, George Pickens, Jaden Blue, that offense, Dak Prescott, who very excited about the George Pickens edition, as he said earlier today on 105.3 The Fan. I think Cowboys fans, this team has come together. Jerry and Steven did a really good job constructing this roster this year. And now we find out exactly when, where, and how many road and home games in a row these teams will be facing as we get set to throw it over to the NFL schedule release coming up next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure. Check on your loved ones. You never know what people are going through in life, and simple call could change their lives. This has been Extra Innings with Pledge. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
94.1 FM, San Antonio Sports Star. It's the Morning Huddle with AJ Hoffman and Rob Thompson.
Thursday on the Morning Huddle, we've got a full NFL